Hello guys, it's Julia. Today's video is going to be a highly requested one. About 2 months ago, I did a video titled My Favorite Warm Toned Eyeshadow Palettes, and I had a lot of fun pulling that together. I have so many warm toned eyeshadow palettes. The majority of looks I do, either on my Instagram or just in my daily life, are very colorful, very warm toned looks. So just to scroll through my Instagram will show you that. But I had a lot of people in the comments requesting me to do a cool tone version of that video, my favorite cool toned eyeshadow palettes. And I'll be honest, this video is not going to be quite as long as the other one, just because I don't have as many cool tone palettes in my collection. I'm not saying I never use cool tones. I do use cool tones. Obviously, I'm wearing cool tones today, but normally when I do cool tone colors, they are very colorful looks. I don't really reach for a lot of cool tone neutrals, if that makes sense. So just out of that principle, I don't have quite as many cool tone palettes in my collection, so it's a little bit harder to round up all my favorites. But rest assured that all the favorites in this video are ones that I use very often. These are actually favorites. I wouldn't just pull together a bunch of cool tone palettes and say that they're my favorites. These ones I reach for a lot. Whenever I want to do a cool toned look, these are the ones I reach for. And these palettes aren't necessarily completely cool toned, but there are some cool tone colors in here that I really love to pull together for a really nice cohesive cool toned look. So just use your imagination a little bit for me. I hope I can explain everything in a way that'll make sense, but with that being said, let's get right into this video. I'm so excited to share with you guys my favorite cool toned eyeshadow palettes. So I'm just going to start with the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. Obviously this is a nice blue look, so I really like using blues for my cool toned looks. I think it's a really fun way to punch some color in there but still kind of keep it more cool and icy, and I really like the look. So this palette, I feel kind of bad mentioning it, but it's the Morphe 39A. This one was limited edition, so you never really know with Morphe, they might bring it back, but as of now you can't really buy this anywhere, I believe. So I do feel kind of bad mentioning it in this video, but it is genuinely one of my favorite cool tone palettes. I've talked about this a lot on my channel. This one is a dream for me. I originally, when it first came out, didn't want to buy it just because of all the browns in here, but then I saw the beautiful color story and I really got inspired to pick this one up. Obviously, the color stories in here are very different. You have a very warm area over here, you have some pretty nice neutral browns in the middle, and then I'd just say this entire top area is pretty warm, but the bottom is very cool tone, and I really love this part of the palette. The little blue color story over here I use very often whenever I want to do a nice blue look. This is the first place I go because these colors are stunning. Unfortunately, you do only get one dark blue matte in here, but it's my favorite navy blue in my collection. I just love how these colors come together. And then the greens down here, the kind of olive tones, are also very cool on the eyes. They look so beautiful. I just think this entire color story is stunning, and I would love to see Morphe come out with more palettes that are colorful like this one and incorporate some really cool inspired color tones like this one. So I really enjoy this palette. I think it's so beautiful for cool toned looks and warm toned looks alike. And that's one of my favorite things in a palette. It doesn't necessarily have to be completely cool toned or completely warm toned. I love having a variety of different colors so you can create whatever you want on that particular day. Now for some cool tone neutrals, one of my favorite palettes that I reach into very consistently is the Tarte Tartlet and Bloom palette. This is one of my favorite neutral palettes, and this one and the Soft Glam are my two favorite neutral palettes. However, Soft Glam I find is a lot more warm toned, whereas this one has a really nice array of neutral shades and cool tone shades. The reason I find this to be a nice cool tone staple palette is because there's not necessarily a black in here or a super dark brown. I like that they included some really kind of cool toned brownish gray shades, and then you obviously have some nice transition and crease shades that are kind of neutral in color. This is a really great palette to just start off any cool tone look you want. And then one of my favorite cool tone shimmer shades is this one here called Rocker. It's so cool, and I obviously don't use this one as much as the other colors in the palette, but overall I think if you're wanting some nice cool tone neutrals, a really great quality palette. You also have some warm tones in here as well, so it's a really versatile palette. This one I think is $46, and my favorite shades in here that are cool toned are the shades Jet Setter, Rocker, Smoke Show, and Activist. So next I wanted to shout out to the ABH Prism palette. This one is limited edition. It was only for holiday 2017, but I believe you can still pick this one up. I think it's still in stores. However, if you do still want this palette, I would recommend picking it up very soon, because now that the Soft Glam palette is out, I'm sure they will discontinue this very soon. So I really enjoyed this palette, and obviously the oranges and the gold and the bronzes are not cool toned. There are some really beautiful cool tone colors in here that I've been really inspired to create looks with. So the first one that stands out to me is the shade Dimension. I don't have a single shade in my collection like this one. It's a really beautiful, cool toned kind of gray shade, but it has a nice silver reflect in there and a little bit of purple as well. So this one has just the perfect amount of blue to it. It's so beautiful on the eyes. It's compared really nicely with some blues, but also looks great with just like blacks and neutral colors. The shade Osiris is also really interesting. It's a blue and black duochrome. So I really enjoyed that Anastasia experimented with some duochromes in this palette, just because they don't really do that with their normal palettes. I think Subculture and Prism are really unique in that that sense. And then the shade Lure as well. It's a beautiful kind of mauve tone pink. So you can do warm tone looks or cool tone looks with this color. Sphere is obviously a bright highlighter yellow, but it's really nice with some grays and blacks. I think it's a really nice cool tone look if you use that as a nice pop of color. And then obviously the shade Obsidian is a beautiful true black. This one is a beautiful black color. It blends very well. It just performs so beautifully. So overall, I think this is an amazing cool tone color palette. You have some nice warm tones and cool tones. You can really take any of these colors in whatever direction you want to, but I just think these are some really nice unique shades. As usual with ABH palettes, this one is $42. I think it's still available on Sephora and Ulta, so go ahead and get this one while you can. And then another palette from ABH that's a little bit more cool toned and kind of has a nice inspiring color story is the Subculture Palette. So this one obviously is not a lot of people's favorites. A lot of people really hate this palette. I'm not one of them. Personally, I really like the colors in here, and I think the color story is particularly inspiring. So if you don't want to work with this particular formula, there's so many dupes out there for this entire like color story, but mainly I'm just so inspired by the color story, so I wanted to mention this one to you guys today. Obviously, again, this is not an entirely cool tone palette. You do have like New Wave and Edge and Adorn. Those are all very warm tone colors, and Roxy, obviously. But I think there's so many beautiful cool tones in here. I really like the blues in here, Axis and Untamed. They're kind of Gumby shades. They're a little bit blue, a little bit green. I have done a look with these, so I will post a picture of it because I think it's a really cool tone look that kind of took some of these colors and ran with it. I also really like the shade Mercury. It's a kind of cool toned grayish brown. It's so unique. I don't have any colors like this in my collection. And I think it's a beautiful kind of crease shade if you want to do a really inspired kind of grungy cool tone look. Obviously, Rowdy is a nice dark plum, so you can really take this with a warm toned or cool tone look, but I think it's beautiful. And then obviously Destiny, this can also be used in a cool or warm look. Nice olive green, so it's pretty neutral, and I think if you paired it with Mercury, it would be an amazing cool tone look. Electric and Cube are both duochromes, and they're very interesting. Cube is a white with a kind of pink reflect. I think this pairs amazingly with a bunch of different looks, cool or warm. And then Electric is really unique, kind of lime green shade. Again, I use this in the green look that I showed you guys with Axis and Untamed. I think it was really pretty, and it's just so beautiful all over the lid. So overall, it's a really unique color scheme. I love the cool tone shades in here. Mercury is just one that inspires me to no end. So overall, I love this palette. I know some people won't like the formula, so you can definitely get color dupes from other palettes, but overall, just the color scheme of this palette is really fun to me. Now for the most inexpensive palette that I'm going to mention in this video is the e.l.f. Matte for Matte eyeshadow palette, and holy smokes. This one was the third Matte for Matte palette. I was really excited to see this palette because drugstore brands, they do cool tone palettes, and normally it's just so boring to me, but e.l.f. threw in some beautiful blue shades. It's kind of like slate blue gray shade. It's so interesting in the crease, but these two blue shades are so pigmented, they blend extremely well. Overall, the formula of this palette is amazing. I think e.l.f.'s formula is probably one of the best drugstore formulas by far. I think that e.l.f. did a really good cool tone palette by kind of pushing the envelope by adding some nice colors in here, but kind of keeping it within people's comfort zone by adding a lot of neutrals. So overall, it's a really beautiful cool tone palette. I love the neutrals in here. Great that it's all mattes because you can really create some nice staple looks. So overall, this is a favorite. It's $10. You really can't go wrong. And I believe that you can find it in Ulta as well. So really great palette. So another palette that I really enjoy is the Kylie Cosmetics Kylie Jenner Press Powder Eyeshadow Palette in the purple palette. So this one is very, very fun to me. I had never tried Kylie's eyeshadows before buying this palette, so I was really interested and intrigued to try out her formula just because it's a new one to me. And this palette is such an interesting spin on cool tones. This was really interesting to me because at the time, so many brands were coming out with their own purple palettes. Kylie was doing this one, Huda Beauty was doing the Desert Dusk palette, which I have. I believe ColourPop was doing the Femme Rosa palette with Karuchi, and then Natasha Denona came out with the Lila palette. So I have tried all of those ones, not the Lila palette, but I do have a dupe for it, the Shop Hush dupe. But this palette is so interesting to me because all those palettes that I just mentioned were very warm tone purple palettes. This one is cool toned, and it was so interesting to me. You do have a nice cool toned kind of saddle brown shade, and then a cool toned kind of grayish dark black. It's not extremely pigmented, but that's probably a good thing because with gray shades, you don't want something that's going to be super dark on first shock. You want something you can build. And then I really enjoyed the purple shades in here. The lavender is kind of powdery on first application, but you can blend it really well. Overall, I'm very impressed with the formula. I think this is a beautiful palette, and I love the looks I've been able to create with this one. So Overall, it's not a neutral palette by any means, but it is a very cool toned color scheme. I think it's a nice spin on purples, and the formula is great. So I enjoyed this one, and in terms of high-end eyeshadow palettes, it's not as expensive as the other ones. I just realized that most of the palettes I'm mentioning in this video are very colorful ones, but I do have another neutral palette for you guys. This is the Morphe 25B palette. So they came out with the 25A and 25B, I think last year, or maybe holidays 2016. A lot of people were really liking the 25A, but I didn't really hear a lot of stuff about the 25B. I think that's because it's a cool tone palette. A lot of people are really hooked under the warm tone train, but I picked this one up because I really liked the burgundy shades down here. When I want a good cool toned brown color, this is the first palette that I reach for because it has all those nice variety shades. It also has warm tones in here, so it's nice and versatile. It's great for travel, and the formula is amazing. So I think this is a great palette. It's only $18 and you get 25 shades. So very cost effective, and I just love all these shades in here. I also use these for nose contouring if you need a nice cool toned brown. These are great formula and they're beautiful shades. I also really enjoy the ColourPop My Little Pony collab. This one was limited edition, I believe, but it's still available, so you can still pick this one up on colourpop.com. I love this palette. Obviously, this one is very colorful as well. I think the 3 blue icy shades down here are so fun. I really like the 3 kind of icy blue shades. That's the first thing that really comes to mind when I think of this palette. You also get a nice black in here. It does have a little bit of shimmer in there, but if you just tap off your brush before you use it, I don't find that the shimmer really translates onto the eyes. Really also like the nice lavender shade in here. This one does also pull cool toned. And then the pinks in here, you can really play these cool toned or warm toned depending on what you want. It really depends on what colors you pair with these ones. So if you want to do a nice cool toned look, these will still work in the crease. You just have to pair with other cool toned shades, but you can also do a warm toned look using all these colors up here. So overall, I really enjoyed this palette. I love the kind of muted color scheme. It kind of shows that you don't have to do a super like bright, vibrant neon color scheme to have a nice colorful palette. This one is just such a fun, inspiring color story. So I enjoyed this one, and $16, very, very fun to use, and it's still available right now on colourpop.com. So this palette is one of my favorites that I got from Shop Hush. I did a haul with their palettes like a month ago, and I will link that in the cards above. But this one was one of my favorite palettes that I picked up from them. This is the Dream State palette. So this one is a dupe for the Fenty Beauty Galaxy palette. If you have that one, this will still work in the same way. These colors are gorgeous. Really beautiful, shimmery, glittery shades. They are kind of marketed as pressed glitters. I don't find that they're super like pressed glittery. I think you do need to use a glitter glue to get full pigmentation, but I would describe these as a really unique shimmer shade. So I love the blues in here, Abstract, Trance, Surreal, Blur, Incubus, kind of similar to the My Little Pony palette in that there's nice icy blues in here so you can create a really cool lid. I also like the purples in here, Lucid, Abstract is kind of purplish blue as well. Delusion is really interesting. And then the greens in here, Nirvana, Origin, Mirage. There's so many gorgeous cool tone shimmer shades in here. So I like to pair this one with a nice matte crease, very simple looks. One of my favorite ways to get a really nice poppy look is to just layer all the duochromes in here. It creates such a nice dimensional look. So I think this is a beautiful palette. I will flash a couple pictures of some looks I've done with this one. I think it's gorgeous and I use this one a lot. Also, it's only $16, so very inexpensive, a lot cheaper than the Fenty one, and it's such good quality, so I really recommend this one. The last little palette that I have to mention to you guys is the Viseart Petite Pro eyeshadow palette. So I bought this one wanting to try out Viseart's formula. I have decluttered some of their palettes just because I wasn't reaching for them, but I kept this one because it's the first one I bought from them, and this has some really interesting colors I don't have in my collection. I love the fact that this burgundy shade is actually cool toned. I don't have a lot of burgundies that are nice and cool toned in my collection, so this one is very fun to play with. I also love the cool toned kind of like brownish gray shade, and then the dark blackish brown gray down here. It's so pretty. And then I also really like this cool tone shade here. I just think it's a really nice cool tone color palette. $30, it's a great way to try out Viseart shadows, so I like this one. I do want to show you guys two more little shadows that I have. These are just fun to add to a nice cool toned look. So the first one I have is the Stila Glitter and Glow shadow. This one is the shade Smoldering Satin. It's kind of a cool toned bronze shade. And that sounds kind of contradictory because bronzes are normally very warm toned, but this one pulls nice and cool on the eyes. It's kind of pewter and it's just so gorgeous. So I like adding this on to a nice cool toned look. This looks nice with neutrals. This looks nice with like grays, browns. Also, it's so good for cut creases. So I really enjoyed this one. And then if you're wanting a nice true silver glitter, I love the JCat Beauty Rockin' the Night Sparkling Powder. I don't have the color in here, but it's silver. These glitters in general are amazing. They're probably the closest thing I could find to dupe the MAC glitters, and I just like these a lot. So this one, I think it's only like $4. You can find it at Ulta. There's so many colors in this one, but the silver is my favorite for cool tone looks. Alright guys, so that concludes my favorite cool tone palettes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you're following along. I post a lot of videos about eyeshadow palettes and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram for makeup looks like this one. I get a lot of questions in each video of what I'm wearing on my face, so full details of this makeup look will be posted on my Instagram. I will link it down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it to the very end, I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching my channel.